Great. So thank you everyone. This is me, Vikrant Shukla. I'll just put down my cape. It was just to make sure that you see the super mage man coming across. Thank you, Vatsal. Thank you. Great everyone. Thank you for being here. Such a lovely audience after lunch, right? So yeah, that's me. That's Vikrant Shukla. I have been working with Magento since its inception back in 2007. Have grown up the ladder to be at different positions, worked with different startups, did my own first startup in 2010, ran it for around 18 months, went into a job again because of some personal reasons, then worked for another 4-5 years, around 4 years. Then started another Magento agency, which was our full Magento business solution agency. Ran it for another 3 years. Then we got acquired, and after that I was working for 1 more year with that agency as VP of e-commerce, and then I came into Adobe. So currently I'm working as a business solution architect in Adobe, looking after APEC. So this presentation that I'm going to do is basically a journey, an experience that I'm going to share with you all that I have gained in all those years, all those past 12-13 years of my experience with Magento and e-commerce. I am not going to say that these are the right things to do or these are the wrong things to do, but I want to portray a picture for all of you in order to make sure that you understand what, as an agency or as a developer or as a front-end guy, a back-end guy, or a QA guy, you need to understand what kind of requirements you need to understand. Don't take it as a guide, because there is I don't think there is a standard process. Someone follow agile, someone wants all those 10-page or 20-page documents to go in. Whereas for me, it is more towards empathizing with the client and being in the client's shoes. So this is a standard e-commerce development cycle journey, right? You do analysis, you do prototyping, design, development, deployment, maintenance and support. But what goes inside this? How do you ensure success of your e-commerce customer? Please understand, as an SI or as a developer, most of you are more focused towards the work that you are given, right? As a developer, you are like, I have been assigned a Jira ticket and that is what I am more bothered about. But that's not the business. That's not the business goal. You completing 10 Jira tickets in a day is not going to add 10% into the revenue of an e-commerce customer. So what goes in there, right? And that is what the e-commerce customer is more worried about. This diagram, it talks about B2X Commerce Architecture. When I say B2X, it is more of B2C, B2B, B2E, whatever you want to name it. X is whatever you want to fill. So in any commerce architecture, what do we have? We have a front end, we have a business services, and we have back end. And then we have hosting services. Don't quote me on this. There is also Magento hosting, Magento Commerce Cloud in here. I was not able to put it somewhere. So yeah, that is why it is missing out from here. So in terms of front end, it can be anything, right? It can be headless, it can be PWA, it can be a mobile app. The front end is front end. In terms of business services, we look into e-commerce, CMS can be there, search and personalization engines can be there, right? OMS, Magento OMS, PIM can be there. Then comes the service layer. These are the service layer, which is mostly talking about what kind of third services can be integrated into a B2B, B2C, B2E, or B2X. That is what I call it, B2X journey. Then you have backend, which can be integrated into any ERP, CRM, or anything like that. So this is a general e-commerce structure architect that you see. Now I'll come to the business requirements. So what do you understand by business requirements? So I am actually trying to declassify and break the requirement into smaller journeys. So when you see requirements are basically broadly classified into 3 segments. One is business requirement, other is user requirement, and the third one is system requirement. I will want you to read through the lines below. I'm not going to read one by one for them, but the consecutive slide and this one will have more details about it. So when we talk about the business requirement and the user requirement and the system requirement, all three of them combined are called as the user requirements, right? Or the user journey, these fulfill. Now what happens? How do you basically identify different requirement objective? First we begin by project objective. What is the real objective of the project? Why is the customer doing it? Most of the time when we as an agency, when I say we, again please consider me as a guy from agency only, not Adobe. So when we as an agency talk to a customer who comes to our place, we are basically not asking him the right questions for why. What we ask him is, the question we ask him is, what do you want? The first question should be, why do you want it? Right, so the other one is the business requirement, design requirement, functional requirement, integration requirement, and content requirement. Right, so these are the five basically broader categories which are actually required to be collected once you are talking to a customer to get a requirement. Business requirement, identify the core flow of the business. What is the pricing rule? What is the shipping rule? What actually is going to get into the project? That is the business requirement. Design requirement. In terms of design, we all know that we need a design, but design is actually divided into two components. One is the core template, one is non-core template. Core template is something that is on the front end. That is user facing, right? That is the core template that impacts your business. And again, I'm not talking about PW, I'm not talking about headless, I'm not talking about Magento responsive or anything. I'm just talking about the thing that needs to go. What you will design is actually the need of the client, which you get the answer from the question why. So asking the question why is most important. Then we have functional requirement. What functional requirement means, that how basically the product is going to behave. Different identification of different core modules, right? That is the functional requirement. How will the checkout work? How will the shipping gateway work? How will basically these all minute things work? Integration requirement. You need to ask customer what are the third-party integration touch points that you want to integrate with. Again, I'll give this this statement now, and it will also show in the later stage. We most of the time feel that the psychological ownership of giving the requirements is on customer. That's a wrong strategy. That's where we fail. When I say we fail, guys, you can raise a hand and you can say that, hey, we did X number of successful implementations, we have not failed. But what I'm saying is the psychological ownership of taking the requirement is on us, not the client. Because if a client comes to you have to ask him why you want to do this. And then from the question why, you come to what, how, when, and the things further. So this is our responsibility. And that is what I'm trying to say with terms of integration requirement. Once you have the question, answer to the question why, you can then go ahead and formulate all these things. Content requirement, identification of the content strategy. Content is the king, we have heard that always, right? So there was a very good blog written by Vatsal just 2-3 days back, wherein he was saying how digital experience is shaping up with content. We have been talking about experience-driven commerce in Adobe. You might have heard this word quite a long of time if you are quite active with Adobe's strategy of e-commerce implementation. What is experience-driven commerce? Experience-driven commerce is a commerce strategy wherein you are creating frictionless commerce journey for a customer, which is actually more content-driven. You are not showing him a landing page filled with 100 of products once he comes to your website. So content is going to drive the strategy for next e-commerce requirement, and gathering the requirement around the content is most important. This I have actually tried to break down into different parameters. Again, none of this is a playbook for you guys. Don't blindly follow it. I'm just trying to give my experience to you. Understand your customer. This is the most important thing that we miss. We are always sympathetic rather than empathic. being empathic. We are not saying that let me put you in your shoes. We are like, okay, we understand your pain. Don't understand it, feel it. If you want to have a successful project delivery, that's only how you can actually gather the requirement as well. It's not only about delivery. I'm not going to execution, right? I'm just talking about the process of requirement gathering. Make sure, and again, this is, you can't make a pie chart or a Excel sheet for this. You have to actually be in their shoes. You have to think like a customer. Let's say a customer wants a marketplace. Why does he need a marketplace? Can a simple landing page solve his problem? Does he want to sell a product on Amazon? Do we really want to give him a marketplace? Empathy is mapping, like thinking like customer, hearing him out, seeing what he wants, understanding his gains, understanding his pains, and then saying what has to be done. User persona. These are some terms you might have already heard. Now let's assume a customer comes to you and says, hey, we want a mobile app, we want a PWA website. Okay, why do you want it? What is it going to do? And then comes this. So this is about understanding your customer. You need to understand what user persona that your customers fall in. For that, you need to understand their age, where they are coming from, their location, what is their purchase motive for making that project with you. And then the admin and the business side. Admin and the business side means that who is the stakeholder in the company? Who is the final decision maker? Who is going to approve your use cases? Who is going to make sure or give you the definition of done? This is another word that I'll repeat again in this presentation. The definition of done. That's the most critical thing that most of the agencies miss out in the quest of getting the project soonest that they can, thinking that the client might be fishing it 3-4 places. Trust me, with my experience, I can say that I have seen a client working on this model. They were like, hey, I'm slow in giving them the requirement. I was like, okay, not a problem, your choice. They went away, and after 6 months, they reached out to me on email and they were like, hey, I'm screwed. Can you help me? I'll tell you one story in between somewhere, but yeah, that's a good story to share. So this is the example customer user flow for an e-commerce journey. You understand, you see this kind of a link, what type of payment type the customer is going to deal, what is the payment detail, what is the payment authorization. So these are some kind of an arrow and all. Why I'm saying this is actually more into the requirement mapping that you are going to do for the customer after the question why. This comes after the question why, you had what, which was, hey, I need this. Then comes the, how are you going to do this? So this is a sample user experience flow that I have created. I'm not saying that you should do it for every modules and everything. Base Magento has to stay as it is. But on top of Magento, you can do this for different third-party integrations and all. It can be a rough diagram just for yourself. I'm not saying that go and present it to a customer, but it has to be you have to understand how the flow is going to work for the customer. And not ask them, hey, how do you want the customer to purchase? You suggest your customer how their end customer is going to purchase on their website. Probe and analyze. These are some very important questions. So in English, there is a proverb, there is a very stupid method called ask. Don't assume, ask. And there is no stupid question in this world. At least I feel so. Because if you ask, you get the answer. If you assume, you are actually trying to spoil your requirement or a project, or maybe not able to deliver it. So when I say probe and analyze, what are the things that you need to probe about and how to probe them? And what are the things that you need to analyze? So yellow is about probe and this is about analyze. So what do you probe? You need to probe about requirements, needs, risk, dependency, assumptions, and opportunities. So if I say, we all know the meaning of these words, right? So we need to understand about the requirement. We need to understand what the users or customers' needs is. What are the risks of doing the project? Not from your standpoint. Hey, the client did not give me the user journey for integration with SAP. That is a risk. Okay, that's a risk for you, but what are the risks for the client for doing that project? If he comes to you and says, hey, what I want to do is, I want to integrate, let's say, front end with Drupal, I want to make a custom mobile app, and I want a Magento backend and talking to an accounting system. So that is a risk for him, maintaining so many kind of a portal. Why do you want a Drupal front end just for PWA where you and a native mobile app wherein you can all do via PWA? So consult your customer. Consultation is most important. Dependencies. How are the project? What are the project objective and how are they dependent on each other? From the customer stakeholders, where are the dependencies between the customer stakeholders? Let's say the accounting team and the front end team. Accounting team wants a very fancy report, and your engineering team or the Magento team says, hey, this is very complicated. Do you really need it? So there are some dependencies in terms of business flows that you need to probe about. And how to probe. So these are the methods: interview, brainstorm, observation, experiment, and workshops. Interview, ask your question. Go into a call, ask different questions. Brainstorm, talk to the client, send them some document, send them your finding, ask them to fill a document. And by the way, that document I'll share with you guys. So yeah, maybe that can be helpful. Observe. Observation is your experience. Experiment, kind of a smaller POC that you want to do. Workshops. And these are the things that you need to analyze once you have done the probing, right? About the user goals, about data, rules, decision, gaps, and all. User stories. We say these are most important things. We say agile and everything. So user stories are important. So what I have done, tried to break down is that there are the feature metrics. So feature is on top. The different user stories are in below them. The box on the left side, and on the right side, what you see is that within every feature, like on product page, product landing page, product page, checkout, there is a user flow that has to go. Most of the time we assume, because we don't use that silly method called ask, that the customer who is coming to you for an e-commerce website understands this. In IT, in a very layman language, I'll tell you, we work in a very difficult world, wherein a client can say, hey, I need a bulb over there. And you, just in order to, just in order to close the project, yeah, I'll put a bulb, no problem. How many watt? I'll put a bulb. Deal signed, you have to put a bulb. Now once you go to put a bulb, you realize, oh, I need a stair. Oh, I need to do a hole over there. Oh, it also needs a holder. And most importantly, it needs a wiring all the way to the main circuit. But client came with an idea, I need a bulb over there. You never went ahead to ask them or tell them that, hey, with that bulb, these are the things that will also go into place. Now the project is signed, SOW is signed with you. What happens? You go and talk about change request. Client is like, my requirement has not changed. I needed a bulb. You're not giving me the bulb. Right? So that is why you need to do this. And these are the method for doing the user story. User stories need to be independent, negotiable, valuable, estimable, smaller in size, and testable. You should be able to test them. Sell emotions, sell stories. Don't sell your services. Sell your story. Sell the emotion. How will you sell the emotion? You will not say, hey, I want to do this service for you. I'm a kind guy. Please give me the project. That is not how it is going to work for you. You need to sell on the emotion that the client is coming to you with. He wants a marketplace. Understand his emotion. It's his product. For you, it's a project. आज किया नहीं किया कल थोड़ा dispute होगा 10% refund कर देंगे sorted, right? I'll get another client with me. Why do I need to worry about him so much? But for him, he's not investing in a website. He's investing into a business, and that each and every one in that project need to understand. From the guy working on the business, developer, front end, everyone. Front end are like, or back end, or anyone in the development team are like, it's working on my computer, can you please check on yours? Can you please flush cache? Oh, it may be a server problem, it's working for me. That doesn't work. It is, if it is working for you and if it is not working for the customer, he's losing business. Right? That is an important thing to understand. So next time when you say, hey John, just to use a random name, hey John, it is working for me. I am not sure. I need 8 billable hours to investigate why it is not working for you. Come on, 8 billable hours. I will have lost so many deals by then. Acceptance criteria. The definition of done has to be clearly specified, guys. This is what I emphasize upon. Until and unless you don't have the definition of done from the customer, don't proceed with it. Just read through this. Can be written into 3 formats: scenario oriented, result oriented, custom format oriented, right? Need to rush. Project documentation, these are some type of project documentations that we do. These are most important things, again based on the project scope, size and everything. Again, coming to the point that I started with, this is not a playbook. You can always do whatever you want. This is just a simple guy sharing his experience, all of what he have attained in so many years with Magento, and trying to empathize with the customer that he has worked with. Software documentation, again, kind of the documentation you need to create which is helpful in terms of project. It can be an Excel, it can be a Word document, it can be a small flow diagram, it can be anything. The reason to do it is just in order to look back, come back to a phase wherein if there is something that your customer says, hey, I told you to put that bulb, and then if you have documented it well, you can say that, hey, okay, I understand. The bulb is not there. I have put the bulb, but the requirement for this was not defined over there. It can be, hey, you didn't ask. Yeah, that's a fault. I should have asked, but I didn't ask. Now that is a problem. Now we go into a negotiation table. So you need some document to fall back. These are my closing remarks. Vatsal, I'm on time. Great. There is no silly question to ask while you are doing a requirement gathering. Trust me, I have even asked this question to customers, even let's say not less than 6 months back, wherein I said, hey, what kind of email do you want from Magento? And he was like, why are you asking me this? So I said, see, transitional emails are okay, but is there any other email journey that you want? And with that silly question, because see, it is a silly question. Email, I need an email, that's obvious. But with this silly question, I was able to identify a unique user experience that they wanted, which was around some kind of a SAP triggering an email through Magento, collecting some report to their customer. It was for B2B. So there is no silly question. Second, and the most important thing for all of you to think and take back, don't over-engineer. Magento is sophisticated to do anything, but don't unnecessarily put a PIM inside it. Don't unnecessarily do something which is not required for the client. Don't over-engineer. PIM was just an example. Don't ask client to have an ERP. If he do not need it, if he has it, tell him. If it is not required, just in order to make some more billable hours, sorry guys, I'm out of that SI zone, so I can say that. Just in order to make some more billable hours, don't over-engineer. Use the silly method called ask. It works. Second last point, customer is the king. Well, but don't treat him like a king. If you treat him like a king, you will not ask a question. You'll always say yes. Don't be a yes man. Because if you be an yes man, you will not get the ROI out of your business, which is your business to deliver projects. The last line, psychological ownership of the project is on you and not your client. Requirement gathering, making sure the project is delivered well is on you, not your client. With that, I have this URL with given over here. It takes you to a Google form wherein reach out to me. The only reason to put this here and not the actual thing that I wanted to share with you is that so that you can have my email ID. I'm available to help you out understand this more if you want. You just need to fill it. As I get the response, I'll pass on a self-curated requirement gathering questionnaire that I have created, that I have been using myself. It includes question for a new project. It includes question for the migration projects, right? So maybe you can use some, you cannot use some. This was not a playbook for you guys. This is just my experience. With that, I open to questions. Okay, guys. So that's me. Thank you.
Keep that slide.
Yeah.